Welcome back, Sports Biz Campers. This is your host, Christian, back with Mr. Brett Diamond, CEO of Wise Venture Esports and the Minnesota Rocker. So this will be broken into 4 quarters since we are in sports and entertainment, Mr. Diamond. Jumping right into our preseason, we'll start off with your name, where you're from, where you work, and your official job title.
Brett Diamond, COO of Minnesota Rocker and Wise Ventures Esports from Minnesota. Grew up in the suburbs of Minneapolis, but went to college on the East Coast and then worked for the NFL at the league level, the NFL office in New York for 11 years. Came back home in 2016 to work for the hometown Minnesota Vikings. And then roughly a year ago, transitioned into this role, leading the esports team.
All right, so what is one aspect of working in sports do you appreciate the most?
I would say it's the aspect I appreciate the most is just being a part of it, truly being a part of a team and being a part of, there's always something that everyone on the staff is working towards together. Whether you're a player or a coach or work in marketing or work on the content team, when the team, whether it's the Vikings or the Rocker, who's our Call of Duty League esports team, when that team is playing, you feel a part of it, you feel invested in it, and you live and die with those wins and losses in a way that is just really cool, and it really just brings the staff together.
Absolutely, and I feel like it's important for me to realize that a lot of the staff and the executives who work in sports came from sports and grew up playing sports. So transitioning to our training days, initially when you were younger, what did you initially want to do for a career going forward?
I wanted to be a salary cap guy in the NFL. That was my goal when I was in college and coming out of college. And so that's, for anybody who doesn't know, every NFL team has somebody that negotiates contracts, works with the players, works on the NFL salary cap. And it's sort of if you didn't play or coach, it's sort of like the closest you can get to the game itself in a meaningful way. If you don't have that, if you're not a player or a coach.
Building off that, what was your initial break into the sports industry? Like what experience or who was that person that geared you first into the sports industry?
I had an opportunity to do some internships when I was in college in the Washington, D.C. area. So I interned the summer after my freshman year of college with the Washington team, and then interned the summer after my sophomore and junior year with the Baltimore Ravens. Over the course of those 3 internships, worked in public relations and community relations, and then operations and logistics. So got to see a few different areas of how organizations ran. I was fortunate to then get an internship at the NFL office, as I mentioned, and then it was sort of just right place, right time. Had a series of opportunities that got me to where I am today.
If a student were to shout at you in your day-to-day, what would they see you doing?
It's one of those things where, because we're a startup and we're a new organization, every day truly is different. I was actually talking with some of our staff talking about the fact that the things that we're doing and even how many people we have working here, it looks very different today than it will 2 months from now, or than it did 2 months ago or 2 months before that. So it's really constantly evolving. So, in any given day, sometimes we're working on, working with our league. So our primary team, the Minnesota Rockers, in the Call of Duty League. So that's the game that we play in. And so today we were having calls on very important things about how our season will be structured and how we maximize viewership and some very high level league issues that will chart the course of what this league is doing for years to come. The next meeting might be something where we're talking about what we're posting on social media that day, or what our marketing calendar looks like, or what's the next game that we're going to get into. We're in Call of Duty right now, but we're planning to expand into other games soon.
What are 2 aspects of your job that you feel are most satisfying?
Yeah, I would say the 2 aspects of the job that are most satisfying is really just watching the organization grow over time. And it's really incredible to think about where we were a year ago. The date we're recording this, and I know people are going to watch it later, but yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of us announcing that this organization even existed. And since then, we've hired 18 people to our staff. We've signed our first group of players. We're closing in on the end of our first season, and we hosted the first event in the history of the Call of Duty League in Minnesota. So we've done some incredible things over the course of the last year that, some of which it would have been hard to imagine prior to us actually doing them.
Absolutely. It sounds like that requires a lot of work, being that you guys are a startup. So I know that requires a different level of consistency and work ethic. But what is one skill that has helped you succeed in your career?
A desire to understand, to constantly be learning and understanding things. And, I'm someone that, whether it's somebody that we've hired and wanting to get an understanding of their job and how they're doing their job, or coming into a new league that didn't exist, immersing myself in the rules of the league and just the nuances of things. For me, just the desire to learn has always been something that's motivated me to do new things, to take on new roles in my career, and to spend the time to understand things. And whether it's reading, so I was an intern for the Baltimore Ravens. I was mostly working at training camp, and when the team ended training camp, there was a 2-week period before my internship was up and I was going to go back to school. And literally, they only kept me around to drive players to the airport after they were cut, which was not, that was tough because these were players whose dreams had really just been crushed a little bit. But because the internship was ending, I didn't have access to necessarily a computer all the time, and this was before smartphones, so I literally didn't have anything to do. And I would go to my boss and others and just say, like, please give me something to do. Like, I'll organize the files, I need something to do. Just give me something to do here. And so, they gave me different things here or there, but in all that downtime, and there was a lot of it, my boss gave me a giant binder of NFL policies and said, here, read this. And I read the whole thing, and it was probably about 300 pages. And then I read almost every team's media guide. I basically just did all those things because I needed to kill time. And then 2 years later, I'm working at the NFL. And because I've read this 300-page book of NFL policies, turns out I actually know a lot of stuff that I didn't even realize I knew. And league policies would come up in discussions, and I'd realize that I knew them. And that actually helped me accelerate in my career pretty quickly because I was able to answer questions or figure things out that somebody that hadn't, somebody at, an intern or somebody else that was junior at my level didn't know those things because you had to have read the 300-page book to know it. And so it's just something that, that desire to learn helped accelerate my career in a way that I never could have imagined it doing, and just opened up some doors and some opportunities.
Absolutely. And I know for me, that would have seemed like punishment, reading all those pages. But rounding off our interview in the playoffs, we're going to end off with some career advice for the high school students. Mr. Brett, if you could go back and tell yourself one piece of advice, what would you go back and tell yourself?
For high school students, I would say, as you look at what you're going to do after high school, do something that you're going to enjoy and start there. Because if you're in a job, or you're in a situation, or you're taking classes that you're not enjoying, you're never going to get the most out of it that you can. I've been fortunate that I've had some great opportunities in my life, but I think, and I think about myself in college, for example. I was a sports management major, and obviously I work in sports now, so it helped me get where I am. But I think I really liked history, and if I'd taken more history classes or even been a history major, I don't think I would have not gotten to the point I'm at today, but I probably would have gotten more out of the academic side of college if I'd taken classes that I was interested in at the time. When we're hiring, or we're looking at somebody to bring on board for our staff, the work experience is so important. Doing internships and getting some work experience or volunteering. Like, if somebody asks me, how do I end up working in sports? Getting a sports management degree is great, and it's certainly a good step in that direction. But working for your university's athletic department is equally as important, and perhaps even better. Figure out what you're interested in, what you want to do, and there's always going to be opportunities. If you're in a town that has has minor league teams, usually those teams are they've got internships, and those things are sometimes easier to come by. Some people look at, okay, I want to work in the NFL, so I need to go do an internship with an NFL team, but sometimes you can get more out of an internship with a minor league baseball team than you would get out of an NFL internship, because interns for minor league teams have to do everything. And frankly, like, I've looked at resumes, and sometimes I'm more drawn to hire somebody that worked for the minor league team or worked for their college athletic department than even somebody that worked for or interned for a Big Four sports team, just in terms of like the level of experience and quality, just quality hands-on experience that you'll get as an intern.
This actually concludes our Chalk Talk interview. So I want to thank you for taking time out your day to speak and pour into the next generation of sports professionals, Brett. High school students, be on the lookout for more content. We have a bunch more industry professionals, so be on the lookout for that. So ending it off, we'll holler at you guys and catch you on the field. Peace.
Thanks, Christian.